Now to a story on the protests in Iran. Something big is happening. The Iranians risking everything to protest. 5 people share their experience of the protest sparked by Mahsa Amini's death in custody as hope of real change grows. Now, the other day, a 22-year-old girl was basically beaten to death by the police. She was thrown into a bus where she since hit her head and died 3 days later after being in a coma. The police tried covering up the story, saying she died of a heart attack. She was originally arrested for not wearing a hijab properly, being immodest, as they say, by their modesty police, and then she was subsequently thrown into a van, bashing her head, and subsequently died 3 days later from a trauma. The government tried covering it up, seems to have leaked out exactly what happened. The footage had leaked out of her hitting her head. And now there's mass protests in Iran. Yet again, they've been protesting for the last 5 years on and off against the government and against modesty police, things like that. This is just another piece of kindling to the fire, and hopefully these people win. Hopefully they get through. Hopefully they're not killed off like last time through. I think it was 2-3 years ago. They had massive protests in Iran where they were shooting people dead in the streets. It looks like they're starting to do that again now. We'll just get into this story here. The internet has been shut off in parts of Iran, and access to all platforms such as WhatsApp and Instagram are blocked. After 7 days of protests in cities across Iran, the uprisings were sparked on 16th of September by the death of a 22-year-old Kurdish woman, Mahsa Amini, who had been detained by the morality police for wearing her hijab in an improper way. Iranian state television said that 17 people have died, though the number could be higher. Here, 5 Iranians share their experience with the past few days, telling us what makes the latest protest movement. Men and women are protesting together this time. I don't dare to go out and join the protests as they are killing people, but my friends are joining and they tell me all about it. I don't know whether this is the best way to achieve freedom, peace, although I think they may be improved safety for women. Previous protests consisted mainly of men, but this one is very different. Women started it and the men are by their side. Most of the police force women to wear their hijab. Men fight against the police. Most protesters are young, but older people support them too. There's actually quite a few interesting videos coming out of Iran, even though the internet's been down. Yeah, that sums it up, eh? This woman here is confronting images, so be aware. Police throw her to the ground where she smashes her head on the concrete gutter. Now, if that was the American police, you can imagine the riots that would be happening there. This poor woman's dragged off by family or friends there. It's happening all over Iran. Protests are breaking out. People are dying in the streets because they're over the dictator forcing their beliefs on them. These people, even when they peacefully protest like this, they become targets for their government, which is, it's in Iran, so it's not surprising. But the scary thing is how quickly our countries, the Western countries, are started to turn into these countries like Iran, where we think, that they're not free. And then this is in Trafalgar Square, protesting in England, they're protesting in Australia, America. It's amazing how quickly these people in these countries, it gets like that in our countries. It's shocking. They're tearing down billboards. There's a lot going on over in Iran at the moment. The protests are growing larger by the day. They started off with a few people protesting and grew up to a couple of hundred, then a couple of thousand, tens of thousands, and then hopefully up to millions of people where they might overthrow the government. This is what it comes to when the government gets that strong of a control over you that they can force you to wear things like a hijab or things like a mask. This is when everyone stands up and they just say they've had enough. Look how, look at what they can accomplish together when they all stand together and they're not divided by the government. Because the government doesn't like you when you are not divided. They like keeping you divided, like keeping you separate from each other and hating each other. And just hoping that this explodes into them taking their country back from the dictatorship that it is. Oh, there we go. George Takei fucking put his 2 cents in. This guy goes up, smacks that woman. These bitches aren't having enough. They aren't having it. Gets his ass beat. Yeah, he's trying to make a quick getaway. This guy's like, no, fuck you, fam. Yep, here they go. Pound, bang, smack. Smacked him in the fucking back of the head, you dirty bastard. Yeah, are you fucked up? Yeah, oh, yeah. You're not so fucking tough now, are you? They're not putting up with it on the small scale. They're not putting up with it at all. They're doing that to police. They're doing that to the pieces of shit. It goes up and smacks the woman for whatever the fucking reason. They're not putting up with it anymore. There's a lot of imagery coming out of there at the moment. I don't know if we can show that one. But Elon Musk has actually, since they've cut off the internet there in Iran, Elon Musk has actually redirected satellites, Starlink satellites like he did in Ukraine, and sent them over to Iran so they can get some sort of internet, some sort of media out and show the world what they're protesting for and what they're protesting about. This is in DC. A lot of it can be peaceful, and then if this is correct footage, that's definitely not fucking peaceful. It says vehicles carrying Islamic Revolutionary Guards are the way to suppress the riots. So they're not fucking around. They went from that in, 79, I think it was, might have been earlier, to this. That's what oppression looks like, whether it's a religious oppression or as a governmental oppression. This is the poor woman here. 22-year-old Iranian woman dies after being severely beaten by the morality police over a hijab law. It's amazing how close that the Western countries have come to this with COVID and shit like that. Remember the videos of them dragging a woman out of her house because she posted something on Facebook here in Australia. I think she was in Sydney. Dragging her out of the house in front of her fucking children because she posted something about not wearing a mask and wanting to go to protests. And everyone thinks that this can only happen in Muslim countries, or this can only happen in third world countries, or places, that aren't the West, aren't European or Australian, that, away from here. But it's amazing how quick it fucking happens here when everyone bends the knee. You go from a beautiful country like that to wearing hijabs and having no vote. It's insane how quickly it can happen. And these people have had enough already. It's fucking been 50 years. But they've been trying for at least the last 5 years. They've been escalating it and been trying to overthrow the government. Hopefully they can overthrow him as peacefully as possible. It's a dangerous part of the world at the moment, yet again. Dancing in the streets, burning the hijabs. This is a revolution, and hopefully they can continue it on before the government shuts them down. We've got to be aware of this happening to us. It happened so quickly in Australia. We built concentration camps. We put people away in prison. We took kids off of parents. We banned them off social media because they were talking out against the government. They were talking out against the government rules. And you only can really think about it in a way where it's happening in a Muslim country like Iran or Pakistan or something like that, where you talk about against the government, or Russia, even China, and they come and knock on your door and they drag you away. But it was happening here in Australia over the last couple of years, so it hits pretty fucking close to home. and it hits pretty close to home pretty fucking quickly. So we'll keep an eye on this developing story there. Hopefully these people can get the freedom they are after with as little bloodshed as possible, but these things are never clean, these things are never blood free. Already this girl has been murdered by police, and there's been several other people killed in the streets, and hopefully it doesn't escalate too much further before they can get what they want, which is their freedom back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.